Friday Dolphins Mailbag. McDaniel, Armstead, and more part 1 of the pre-49ers game Miami Dolphins on SI Mailbag. From Dave Gober during Mike McDaniel's press conference after the Dolphins' putrid performance against the Texans, he said, "It was a game we thought we were ready to go win and we weren't. But let's examine the results of his head coaching tenure to date against opposing teams over .500. So far this season he is 0-5. In 2023 he was 1-6, and in 2022 he went 2-6, which equates to a disastrous 3-17 record against good teams. His offensive scheme puts up decent numbers against inferior teams, but continually falls short when it's time to battle against top teams. His game planning and in-game adjustments are atrocious, can't run the ball, red zone scoring problems, as well as the soft culture that he has allowed. It's obvious to everyone but him that his scheme has been figured out by the top teams in the league. Do we really need to rinse and repeat for a 4th year hoping for different results? Hey Dave, I think you're asking me whether we might see a head coaching change after the 2024 season, and I'm going to tell you that I would be very surprised. All of the points you mentioned are fair, but you also can't forget McDaniel helped bring out the best version of Tua, orchestrated one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL in 2022 and 2023, and guided the team to back-to-back playoff appearances. Beyond that, Stephen Ross gave him a contract extension this summer when McDaniel had 2 years left on his contract, and that's not done and followed by a quick hook if things go south the next season. From Dave Iannuzzi. Alan W. Don't hear a lot about the Finns' sorry record against teams with winning records. I have always wanted to ask you how that is determined. Is it the opponent's W/L record when you play them? So beating a 1-0 team in week number 2 is beating a team with a winning record? Or is it based on the opponent's W/L record from the prior season? Or is it based on the opponent's W/L record at end of the season you played them? Or is it a little bit of all of those depending when the game is or when you are discussing the stat? Hey Dave, there's no set rule for that, but the stats we usually hear associated with the Dolphins involves an opponent having a winning record at the end of the season in which the game was played. So the Dolphins this season are 16 against teams that currently have a winning record from Craig M. Do you put any stock in the theory that McDaniel's former coaches know how to defend his offense? Hey Craig, because there's so much tape available now and McDaniel has done some different things in Miami with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and speed he didn't have in San Francisco, I think that idea is overblown. It may be, however, that those McDaniel connections generally coach good teams, Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, Sean McVay with the Rams, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers, D'Amico Ryans with the Texans from the Dolphins. I've heard Armstead is a great leader, and obviously he executes with great technique and precision when he's healthy. However, he plays more like a ballerina dancing his opponents out of position more than a grizzly mauling them into submission. I question his leadership, at least in a positive sense, because I really don't see the people around him raising their level of play. Isn't that what you mean when you're talking about leadership? I remember a guy whose name might be taboo, but who actually had a much broader effect positively on the field than Armstead. To me, it's not even a question, but I look forward to those who might oppose that idea. That man's name is Richie Incognito. While he lacked the technique and fundamentals that Armstead employs, he made up for that with physicality and aggression. His mentality was infectious. I submit to you, his leadership was tenfold to anything Armstead could ever hope to achieve. I say all that to ask, can the Dolphins afford to bring back Armstead even if he wants to return? His lack of aggression and physicality are apparent. He cannot be relied upon because of his fragile nature. His lack of practice sets a bad role model for the entire team.